After about 17 days, we are back after completing 30 and 30. I was going to come back within a week. It's drifted a little bit. Was going to come back yesterday. Life. But I'm so excited to be back. I certainly think that the podcast is majorly beneficial for me internally, and externally it's great for content, all that. But I think taking this time off after doing it so consistently has given me a new perspective for it. Because I would certainly say near the end of those 30 days, it was starting to get very, very repetitive. Every night, sitting down, recording an episode. And I think when we do something too often, it can get old, it can get But taking some time off and now getting to come back to it, I'm excited. I'm really excited. So let's start out with what this is going to look like. I'm going to bring you guys 2 episodes a week. That's my commitment. I'm not going to set exact release days at the moment as I get a couple of systems up and running to make it easier in terms of consistency. Then I will most definitely have release days for you guys in the near future. But today I want to talk about something interesting that came up recently. And it's this idea of a quantum leap. And not in the literal sense, I'm not Neil deGrasse Tyson, but in this metaphorical sense, in the quantum leaps of life and the quantum leaps of business. Because I think there's this misconception that there is a path to the jump, and then after that it's linear or it's exponential. But I'm of the opinion that the graph is less like this, and I think it's life. I think we can all see this. The graph of anything, it's more of this. You jump, and then you slowly trend up or slowly trend down, relatively neutral. There is no such thing as net neutral, though. And then you jump up again. And I think this goes for business, and it goes as an overall idea for life. And I think I've seen that a lot in the last couple of months. I think doing 30 episodes in 30 days was a quantum leap. I doubled my episode count, right? That was a quantum leap in terms of how much I was producing. And then I got done. And I started working on some things for myself, right? And working on some business development. And then I had an opportunity come up through a mentor that jumped. It jumped everything. It was a huge quantum leap, and I had to reevaluate. I had to scale some things I was working on down to be able to step up to that plate. And that's going to continue to happen. And remember, one quantum leap sets you up for the next. I couldn't have handled this. I couldn't have handled that quantum leap if I hadn't have done 30 episodes in 30 days. But also, if I wasn't doing the podcast, but I think sometimes more is less and less is more, right? We hear that all the time, less is more. But there are also times when more is less, because this jump in responsibility, in what I am expected to do on a daily basis, has been crazy. And it's been stressful. And I've been starting to feel some burnout. But what it brought me back to was the podcast. And I realized that if I do the podcast, I'm going to have a heck of a lot less burnout. And I'm actually going to be more amped and be able to do more by adding another thing onto my plate, because that thing fuels me. So understanding quantum leaps are going to happen. And I see this with many people in my life. They're on a path, and then something comes along, and their level jumps up. And then they keep going, and it's going to jump up again. And now when you are in it after a quantum leap, in between quantum leaps, it is going to be a graph that looks more linear. more like you would expect. However, give it time. Give it time. Things jump up and they continue to do so. So we need to pay attention to what we are doing, right? And we need to understand that when these leaps come, it's our job to adapt. And it's our job to adapt while still doing the things we were doing before. Now, there is a space for gaps. There is space for all of these things. But when a quantum leap comes along, you can't drop everything in your life except for that one spot where the leap was. You have to uphold everything. It is a challenge. It is not easy in any way. But it's the entire act of getting to handle it that is so exciting, and the best part of some of these challenges is those lessons you learn. Those things that push you beyond what you thought possible in terms of efficiency. Those challenges are going to teach you, and no challenge is bad. And there's negatives to some challenges, but we often think of a challenge of, oh, this came in the path, and it's in my way. It's a stepping stone, and I love that. And I think it's important to do things externally from whatever our big responsibility is. Do something else that is rewarding for us, that we enjoy. Like, I love this podcast, and it's rewarding for me. And I think it's interesting. Now, I kind of want to transition here. I have a notebook in front of me, but I have zero notes. I just wanted to take action, wanted to get this episode out. So I set up and I hit the record button. And I guess the thing that I wanted to talk about is kind of just the podcast, right? Why do I love it so much? And why do I think everyone should do something like this, even if they don't release the episode? Now, I think releasing the episode is incredible, and it's a quantum leap between not releasing it and releasing your episodes. But recording something like this, I know some people do journaling because that's their thing, and some people do X or Y or Z. I'm a talkative guy, if you haven't noticed. I like to talk, so this is my journal. And I think what it comes down to is there are always going to be times in your life, negative or positive, in the situation where you don't get to say to someone what you may have wanted to say. There are going to be times where you wanted to compliment someone, or you wanted to talk about something really cool that they were doing to them and you didn't get the chance. There are going to be times when you wanted to express frustration and you didn't get the chance. But what I love about the podcast is I get to share those insights. It can be a frustration. And no, I'm not out here calling out Bob for making my burger wrong. No. I would say, you pull the lesson from that. Be present in your life so you don't overcook burgers or something like that. And I think one of the cool things about getting to choose what you talk about versus a guest, I love my guests. I love those conversations. But what I love about these episodes especially is that I get to pull from experiences I have in my life. And I get to say, hey, this happened. How can I apply that to a lesson? And it's not a lesson for the audience all the time. It's also a lesson for me. Because if I don't say these things or write them down, I don't get to think about them to as large of a level. And so being able to think about these things, being able to process, being able to talk it out is so huge. It's huge for my confidence, my self-expression, understanding who I am. And this is why I want to encourage you to do something like this. Now, releasing it to an audience is so cool because you get to use the lessons you learn and share them with an audience and make a positive impact. That's what's cool. But if you were to sit down in front of your phone. I like holding a microphone because it feels authentic, and I love to put the microphone far away. It's harder to hear me. And pull it really close. And I'm a little bit too close a lot of the time when I talk. And then I'm it's like a trailer voice. But I like that. But you don't necessarily have to. You can grab your phone. You can go into this little thing called your camera. Hello. And you can just flip it around and you can sit there and you can hit the record button and you can just start sharing your thoughts. Sometimes you can make notes, sometimes you don't have to. But expressing those thoughts, expressing what is on your mind in a way that it can have a positive impact on the world is huge. Especially if you're someone that doesn't like to public speak. I've always loved public speaking, so I'm not the best public speaking teacher. But what I can say is record what you would tell someone. Record the lessons that you want to express to the world. And then record it, and you can release it, and I would encourage you to release it. But if you are not comfortable releasing it, don't. Now there is a time for pushing yourself, and you should absolutely do that. But the first time, just record it. Just get into that habit. And then the only difference is you hit the publish button. And you show the world who you are and what you want to do. Right? I mean, heck, you could be talking about freaking strawberries, but expressing what's on your mind. And you can pick, right? I love leadership lessons, but I think you can always tie in whatever element you want to tie in. But you can pick based off your lived experiences what you want to cover. If you want to cover your favorite TV show, okay. But what moment you talk about, you can pull from something that happened to you a couple days ago. I want to go rewatch this episode, and I want to talk about it with you. Because I want to take the lessons we can learn from those characters and talk about that, because that's what happened to me in real life. But I don't blatantly want to say it, right? These are all things you can do. The world of podcasting is infinite. It's an infinite game, so don't think of it as finite. There aren't finite categories. You could have a show where everybody holds a mug up, they drink every 35 seconds while talking about their favorite species of cow. And there is an audience for that. So think about that. You don't have to do it a specific way, but what I love about a podcast is you get to express yourself in a way that not much else allows you to do. Because podcasting is I think one of the best things with podcasting is I like releasing episodes on YouTube. You totally should. But it definitely removes the algorithm, and you don't have to be attached to your view count, right? You can just talk. And again, I'm kind of repeating myself here, but record a podcast. Talk to the world about what you are passionate about, what you love, and then share it. Share it with the world. And if the world hates it, who the hell cares? Why should it matter what the world thinks about you? Why should it matter what they care about you expressing something if it's going to have a positive impact on your life? For me, I take more action when I do a podcast because I can talk out my weaknesses and I can talk out my strengths. And it gets me into this mindset. When I was setting up for this podcast, man, I was getting amped, had some music going, some Akira the Dawn, if you know, you know, and it was exciting. So keep all of these things in mind. Attack your life. Get excited. Become better. And man, this has been the incredible return of the Conversation Station.